Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Some brides get something borrowed and something blue. This one got invoiced for emotional labor. Today in the rLounge, apparently in her mind, a mother-in-law's entitlement comes with a line item. Mother-in-law tried to steal my wedding spotlight with a speech, so I cut her mic and her from our bank account. My fiancé proposed after 3 years of dating. I was over the moon excited and couldn't wait to share the news with our families. We decided to announce our engagement at his parents' house during a regular family dinner. Everyone seemed genuinely happy for us. Everyone except my future mother-in-law. While she smiled and hugged us both, there was something off about her reaction. She looked at my ring and said, "Well, it's certainly unique. Not what I would have chosen, but if you like it." Then she immediately started talking about how she always imagined her son would marry someone from their community and how surprised she was by our relationship lasting this long. My fiancé squeezed my hand under the table. I already knew his mother was controlling. He'd told me stories about how she micromanaged his life growing up, but he'd gotten better at establishing boundaries with her over the years. I figured we could handle whatever passive-aggressive comments she threw our way during wedding planning. The problem started almost immediately. We set our wedding date for about 5 months out and began planning. The first red flag came when my fiancé's mom started texting me constantly with suggestions that were really more like demands. She sent me links to venues she'd already contacted just to check availability and Pinterest boards she'd created for her son's special day. I tried to be polite at first. "Thanks for the suggestion, but we're actually going with something different." Or, "We've already decided on the colors and venue or food." But she wouldn't let up. She responded with things like, "Just think about it more," or, "You'll change your mind once you see what I've planned." Things escalated when she showed up uninvited to our venue tour. I'd specifically told her we wanted to look at places ourselves first, but there she was, waiting in the parking lot when we arrived. Throughout the entire tour, she criticized everything. The layout was awkward, the lighting was unflattering, the location was inconvenient for family. After she left, my fiancé apologized profusely. He called her that night and told her she needed to back off. She cried and said she was just trying to help, and that I was excluding her from this important milestone. He held firm, but I could tell the conversation took a toll on him. A few weeks later, we were finalizing our color scheme, sage green with gold accents. His mom called and insisted we change to a royal blue because it's been the family color for generations, and it would look so much better in photos. When we refused, she showed up at our apartment with fabric swatches and photo mock-ups she'd created. My fiancé finally snapped and told her to leave. She left in tears, calling me an ungrateful son who was choosing a stranger over family. The guest list became another battleground. We wanted a relatively small wedding, around 80 people. His mom sent us a spreadsheet with 25 additional people we'd never even heard of. Family friends, she called them, who would be devastated to miss it. We later found out she'd already told these people they were invited. Even worse, she was telling everyone she was paying for the wedding, which is completely untrue. We were covering most costs ourselves with some help from my parents. I hit my breaking point when I went for my dress appointment. I'd invited my mom's sister and 2 closest friends. Somehow, my future mother-in-law found out when and where the appointment was and showed up uninvited. That would have been bad enough, but she arrived wearing a white gown she was considering for the wedding. My sister asked if she was really wearing white to her son's wedding. She played innocent, saying she didn't know there were rules about what the groom's mother could wear. My sister pointed out that everyone knows only the bride wears white at a wedding. My mother-in-law's eyes narrowed, and she called my sister dramatic, insisting her dress was more off-white, almost cream. I was trying to keep the peace, but my sister wasn't having it. She told my mother-in-law exactly how inappropriate she was being. Mother-in-law stormed out, later texting my fiancé that I had turned everyone against her and that my family was attacking her for no reason. The situation got even more ridiculous when she threw a surprise second bridal shower for me, except it wasn't really for me at all. She invited all her friends, none of mine, and chose a completely different theme than my actual shower. I only found out about it when she texted me that day before, asking what time I'd be arriving. When I called to explain I had other plans, because I hadn't been informed about this event, she accused me of being ungrateful. At this unauthorized shower, she announced to everyone that she was preparing a special 30-minute speech and slideshow for our reception. My fiancé called her that night and explained that we'd already finalized the reception timeline, and there wasn't time for such a long presentation. She told him she'd make it work and hung up on him. 2 weeks before the wedding, we discovered she'd been telling extended family we were registered at stores that we weren't. Even worse, she'd been returning some of our actual registry gifts and exchanging them for items she thought were more appropriate or better quality. The rehearsal dinner should have been a warning of what was to come. As mother of the groom, she was expected to give a brief welcome toast. Instead, she launched into a 15-minute speech exclusively about her baby boy, with barely a mention of me. She shared embarrassing childhood stories, repeatedly referred to him as my son rather than by his name, and only acknowledged my existence in the last sentence with a lukewarm, "And I guess we're adding someone new to the family now." After the rehearsal, she proudly informed us she would be wearing a beautiful cream-colored gown to the wedding, despite having been specifically asked not to wear anything white or cream. That night, we spoke with our wedding coordinator and specifically instructed her that my mother-in-law was not to have access to that microphone during the reception, except for her pre-approved 2-minute toast. Our wedding day started beautifully. The ceremony went perfectly and the beginning of the reception was magical. Then came the toasts. My dad gave a heartfelt speech, followed by my fiance's best man. My mother-in-law was scheduled next for her brief toast. She took the microphone and started normally enough, thanking everyone for coming. Then she pulled out several pages of notes and said, "I've prepared something special to truly commemorate this occasion." Our coordinator started moving toward her, but she stepped away. My mother-in-law then nodded to her husband, who pulled out a laptop and connected it to a projector they had apparently set up without anyone's knowledge. Suddenly, baby photos of my husband started appearing on the wall. "My precious son," she began, "has always been the center of my world." She proceeded to narrate his entire life story, completely ignoring that this was our wedding, not his biography screening. I watched in horror as the speech turned from awkwardly long to actively hostile. "Of course, I always imagined he would end up with someone from our community," she said. "Someone who understood our traditions and values. But life is full of surprises, isn't it? And sometimes people settle for what's convenient rather than what's best." My husband was frozen beside me, his face red with anger and embarrassment. I made eye contact with our coordinator and discreetly sliced my hand across my throat. She nodded and headed for the sound booth. My mother-in-law continued, her voice growing louder. "And you know, it's never too late to change your mind. Just because today happened doesn't mean—" The microphone cut off mid-sentence. The projector went dark. My mother-in-law stood there, momentarily confused, then furious when she realized what had happened. "How dare you? This is my moment. You've ruined my special moment." My husband's father and brother quickly moved to escort her out as she continued shouting about how I had stolen her son and ruined what should have been a perfect day. The room was dead silent until he got her through the doors. My husband squeezed my hand and stood up. "Sorry about that interruption, everyone. The good news is the bar is open and the dance floor is ready. Let's celebrate." The party quickly recovered, and honestly, the rest of the night was perfect. Several guests came up to express their sympathy about what had happened, but most people just seemed eager to move past the awkwardness and enjoy the celebration. The next morning, still basking in post-wedding bliss despite the drama, my husband got a notification from our bank about suspicious activity. Someone had attempted to make several large transfers from our joint account, the one where we deposited our monetary wedding gifts. The attempted transfers were to an account we didn't recognize. When my husband called the bank, they confirmed that requests had come through online banking using his credentials, but had been flagged as suspicious due to the amount and destination. As we dug deeper, we realized the account they were being transferred to belonged to his mother. Years ago, when he was in college, his mom had been added to his bank account to help manage his finances. When we got engaged, we opened a joint account, but he never removed her access from his original account, which was now linked to our joint one. She had apparently decided that she was entitled to our wedding money. My husband immediately called the bank and removed his mother's access from all accounts. I only heard his side of the conversation, but it was clear she was not apologetic. She claimed we owed her for embarrassing her at the wedding by cutting her microphone. She said the money was rightfully hers because she had invested so much. In the wedding, she hadn't contributed a dime, and in raising him. My husband told her, in no uncertain terms, that what she had attempted was theft, and that if she ever tried to access our finances again, we would take further action. Update. It's been a little over a week since I posted about mother-in-law's wedding antics and attempted theft from our bank account. First, thank you for all the supportive comments and messages. It helped knowing we weren't overreacting to the situation. Unfortunately, things have escalated since then, and I need to vent about this absolute crap storm my mother-in-law has created. Apparently, my mother-in-law has been busy crafting her own version of events. According to her story, I physically pushed her at the wedding when she was just trying to give a heartfelt speech about her son. She's also telling everyone that we've stolen her family heirlooms that she generously loaned for the wedding. For the record, there were no heirlooms. The only thing she brought to the wedding was audacity and a cream-colored dress. My husband's cousin forwarded us screenshots from a family group chat where mother-in-law claimed we were keeping her money from her. She told everyone that she had invested significantly in our wedding. Again, she contributed exactly $0, and that we're refusing to pay her back. The messages were filled with crying emojis and pleas for support against her ungrateful son and his controlling wife. The real kicker came yesterday when we received a formal-looking letter in the mail. My mother-in-law sent us an itemized invoice for her investment in our wedding and marriage. The list included her dress, $879.99, hair and makeup, $350, emotional labor, $5,000, wedding planning assistance, $7,500, lifetime of raising son, $8,000, slideshow preparation, $737.54. The total came to $22,467.53, and she demanded payment within 14 days or she would pursue other options. The letter was typed out but had her signature at the bottom, along with a handwritten note that said, "You know you owe me this." I'll update again if anything soon. Update 2. It's been about 3 months since my last update, and I want to share how this nightmare with my mother-in-law has finally resolved. A lot has happened, so I'll try to cover the important parts without writing a novel. We maintained our no-contact stance. We also changed our locks after noticing scratch marks around our door handle one day when returning from work. The situation finally broke when my father-in-law filed for divorce. After 35 years of marriage, he'd reached his breaking point. Mother-in-law immediately blamed us, sending a barrage of texts accusing us of destroying the family. We blocked her on all remaining platforms and changed our phone numbers. As part of the divorce settlement, mother-in-law agreed to move across the country to live with her sister. My father-in-law confirmed she was leaving, selling the family home and dividing their assets. We've maintained no contact with mother-in-law for over a month now. We recently moved to a new apartment. We're finally planning the honeymoon we postponed due to all the mother-in-law drama. 2 weeks in a location I won't disclose online, with our phones turned off and no social media updates. According to my husband's siblings, mother-in-law occasionally still tries to contact my extended family members, but most have limited it or cut off communication with her. Her sister recently reported that she's adjusting to her new life and keeping busy with local activities, which we hope means she's finding new focuses for her energy. The financial damage has been mostly repaired. The fraudulent credit card was removed from my husband's credit report, and we've recovered most of what was spent. Our wedding gifts and savings remain secure in our new accounts. Looking back, I wish we had established firmer boundaries from the beginning. The red flags were there from our engagement announcement, but we kept trying to accommodate her in hopes of keeping the peace. That only emboldened her to push further. I don't plan to post any more updates. Thank you to everyone who's offered support and advice throughout this ordeal. It truly helped knowing we weren't alone. Showing up at your dress appointment with a white gown and calling your sister dramatic wasn't a misunderstanding. That unique ring comment? A calculated jab meant to plant doubt on what should have been one of your happiest days. The uninvited venue tour and fabric swatches weren't helpful suggestions. They were deliberate attempts to bulldoze your choices and remind you she thinks she has final say over her son's life. And the invoice? It was her way of saying she thinks she owns both your husband and your marriage. Her smear campaign afterward, lying about her heirlooms, pushing a false narrative that you assaulted her, wasn't about saving face. It was an attempt to poison your relationship and isolate you. Even her own husband filing for divorce shows this is part of a lifelong pattern, not a single incident. Have you ever witnessed a mom treating a wedding like it was her special day instead of a couple's? Share your stories with us below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.